Welcome back to the Best of Pest Marketing Podcast. I am joined today by a very special guest. I'm here with Anna Young, who is the co-owner of Torpedo Mosquito in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Hi, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you today about all things business, mosquito. You have been in the home service industry for a decade, so I know that you have a lot of knowledge on the internal operations, on marketing, on how to grow a business, new location and expansion. So we're going to get into all of that information today.
Let's do it.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Where are you from? How did you get started in the industry? You have a horticulture background. Where did this love come from?
Yeah, so I am from North Georgia, a small town called Ellijay, and I spent a ton of time outdoors as a kid, just playing in the woods, walking down hiking trails, and I had a neighbor called Mr. Weaver who taught me all about plants and, their uses. So I always loved being outdoors and just fell in love with that from my childhood. And, as I was coming into my own as a young adult, as 18, 19, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I dabbled in different things. I went to school for horticulture. I did landscaping. I thought I wanted to be a landscape designer. And so while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I became a house cleaner. Bills got to be paid somehow, and that's what I did for some time. And I ended up coming to kind of a crossroads where I had a choice to make. I could go with this smaller company that wanted me to go straight into a manager role, or this little bit larger business that I saw some room for growth in, and start as a house cleaner. So I chose to be a house cleaner for this slightly bigger company, and within some time I became the manager there. And the owner had a pool business as well, and he decided to put me in that role. So for a time I was managing both the home cleaning business and the pool cleaning and repair business. I learned, it was like a crash course in business management and putting out fires and building teams. The pool business was a smaller business that needed a lot of love and nurturing, and taking it from one technician with 30 clients to 5 technicians. I think when I left we had like about 200 clients, and had added multiple trucks, and it was so fun. I learned how to replace a motor and pump, but I could talk about that for days. It was tough though. It was very tough, and I met my partner through the pool business, and decided it had been a couple of years I'd been in the pool business and was looking for a change. So I moved to Virginia to be with him. Didn't quite know what I was going to do at the time, but I had made connections through that pool business, and one of them led me to Torpedo Mosquito. And so I became the internal operations manager here for the parent company, and got to help the locations all through the southeast start their businesses, and I helped to create the back-end processes and setting up those tedious tasks that nobody wants to do that kind of got put on my plate, but I loved it. It was like, here's the backbone of your business, and I get to help you set that up. And so that's kind of how I started, and where I'm at now with that part. And then watching everyone start their businesses, and having done managing businesses on my own, I decided I could do this. My partner has got a background in home service as well, so we decided to open our own location.
That's such a story, such a great way to get started, because it sounds like from cleaning to pool business, customer service and work ethic probably were the two things that you couldn't compromise in those things. It sounds like you were from a very early age kind of had your sights set on what you knew that you were great at.
Yeah, I was ready to work as soon as I was 15, and it was, my parents were like, oh, you need to, once you start working, you're never going to stop. And they were right, but it didn't stop me. And yeah, I've enjoyed the process. It's been very fun.
That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit more about your growth from internal operations at Torpedo Mosquito. You guys serve 4 states, is that right?
Yes, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Virginia.
So serving 4 states, you are working in the internal operations for the parent company. Talk to me about your journey to co-owner for your Virginia Beach location.
When I was getting things started for each location, I could see myself back in that managerial role, but in a totally new way of talking to owners about, what their week should look like, what their year may look like, what they need to do, diving into their markets and understanding what, is going on with their competition. And, I was getting so excited watching them get excited, get scared, talking about it being scared, all of those flows that happen when you're starting a business. And when they started getting customers, it's one of those things where I knew it was going to work. Seeing it from the outside, it's like, we've done everything right. You're doing what you need to do, I'm doing what I need to do, this is going to work. And then it did. And seeing that, I'm just like, I'm doing this for other people, it's working, I love this model, mosquito control is awesome, let's do it. So jumping in for myself was very surprising because I had been so sure with these other owners. Like I said, you did what you're supposed to do, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to help you, this is going to work. And then doing it for myself, I was like, oh no, is it going to work? Maybe I'm the outlier, maybe it's not going to work. And so it was kind of funny just to see my personal reaction going into it as a new business owner, even though I'd been doing these things for so long. But I was able to remind myself, okay, what did you tell these owners when they were having the same feeling, and talk myself out of it and just keep moving forward and stay consistent. And so I think that's been an interesting part of the journey. It's just the feelings that come around it and the fears, and then overcoming them and going, okay, yeah, we got this. This is gonna work.
Like, you have such a firm foundation. You're like, I know that I have everything in place to make this work. But it's still funny when you put it out in the world and you're like, this is gonna work, right? You gotta get that, that little voice of self-doubt comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you are starting to see that it does work, and the systems work, and the process works, and the work ethic and the customer service that you've built over the last decade, what did that feel like when you started to see these numbers come in and you're tracking KPIs and you're like, whoa, we're doing it? What did that feel like?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if there's any hobbyists out there, but I love my hobbies. I disc golf, I go fishing, and it's like, if you have been, scoping out fishing spots and you found the best spot and you put all this work into what rig you're going to use, and then you start catching fish, and it's like, it's the best feeling in the world. I don't know how else to describe it other than that satisfaction of I worked hard, I tried my best, and it worked. You caught the biggest fish. And even if it's one customer, every single customer, I'm like, yes, it's still going. So it's so rewarding. I think so far it's been just probably one of the most rewarding things I've been able to do. It feels great. It's awesome.
That's awesome. It is very rewarding to be able to lead a team, and to know that the hard work that you put in is going to pay off too. What did you put into place when you opened the Virginia Beach location? Tell me, what are some of the first things that you did from a marketing perspective? What did you do first to make sure that you guys were set up in the market as an authority, as an expert?
I love that question. So getting to see the different locations and what some of them were doing and what some of them weren't doing, I got to kind of compare and contrast a little bit. And one of the main things we did back when I was doing home cleaning and the pool cleaning business was yard signs. We were bootstrapping our business. We didn't have a ton of money coming forward to do a ton of direct mail or, Google PPC. So first thing we did was put most of our budget into yard signs, and we were very strategic with them. They're not the cheapest things in the world, so you don't want to just put them somewhere they're going to get pulled up the next morning. But we were also very okay with, these are not permanent. They're going to get thrown away. So let's put them out and make them count, and then we'll do it again. So our strategy is interesting. We started with this day one, and we still do this now. We start around 10 or 11 p.m. and we go out and we'll put about 20 to 30 yard signs in an evening. And we put them around the areas we want our customers in. And we can pretty much guarantee when we do that, we're getting calls the next day from people seeing those signs. And then with that, we did flyers. So putting them in people's doors. Clover leafing has been a big thing. The house across from your customer and the ones on the sides, putting them in doctor's offices, that kind of thing. And then I think all in the same week with that, the yard signs and the flyers, we were reaching out to people we know. I think that's like the best place you can start. Friends, family. We were surprised by some of the people who took us up on our offer for service. And, now it's year 2 and they still have us. And we're like, okay, they weren't just doing us a favor. They really want this service. So, yeah, I think those were our main 3 focal points when we were just out the gate getting started.
That is so cool. That's pretty unique that you guys put yard signs in starting at night too, so that people on their way to work the next morning, they have to pass by those. I'm curious, like,
Mm-hmm.
where exactly you put those in. Were these like private residents? Were these like parks, intersections? Like where were you putting some of the signs?
That's such a good question. And I think that's one of the things I talk a lot about with the owners I work with, because there is like a strategy to it. We kind of do a mixture of both. So right outside of neighborhoods is really where we target. If you're putting them really close to an entrance, they're going to get pulled. Neighborhoods don't want their entrance crowded. So we try to go if there's a main road that goes, like for us, we've got the ocean front here and most people work over here and they've got to take this one road if you're living in this neighborhood to get to work. So we will line the median of that road. So they're having to see us 5 or 6 times before they get to work. We will go inside neighborhoods a bit. We don't do it anywhere where it might be on a customer's yard or a homeowner's yard. So, church parking lots, if we can go adjacent to that. We love medians. Those are really safe spots. And anywhere someone has to stop. We try to do intersections and maybe even a little bit back where it might be a little bit harder for someone to stop and pull the sign out. We try to think about, how easy it would be for them to get to the sign to remove it. And those are our main spots. Inside neighborhoods a bit, and mostly on those entrances and exits for neighborhoods.
I love that there's a formula to it. It's trial and error. Like, I've done this before. I know it works. I know how to recreate it for the future. What has
Mm-hmm.
had to change in y'all's approach to marketing, either, in like your shoulder season or even in your peak season that I'm sure you guys are heading into? What changes?
Yeah, that's a good question also. So we still do all of that. For us, it's being consistent, doing those things all throughout the year. This year, we are implementing door knocking, and that's just getting started because it's been a little cold. We were testing the waters earlier in the season when it's a little bit cooler. And even though we know mosquitoes are hatching and you're going to start getting bites, convincing someone in 3 weeks you're about to get mosquito bites, it's just, I'm not that good of a salesman. It's not happening for me. So right now we're getting better responses from door knocking, and that's something that I'm working on, kind of upgrading those skills and getting good at that. I know that's something that other pest control companies are having a lot of success in. And now with peak season, the weather being warm, I think it's more prime for that kind of marketing.
In your peak season with technicians, making sure that you have the staff to go out and to handle the demand, how do you guys handle that when it comes to hiring?
Yeah, so in some of our locations, everybody is smaller for now. We don't have, huge routes built with tons of technicians yet in any of the locations. Part of that is just because the mosquito control sprays don't take a significant amount of time, so one person can fit in a ton of treatments. But with that being said, we do have, most of our owners, mosquito control isn't all they do. So they do need extra help. And they've been able to find a lot of success with like college students, military personnel, people with irregular hours that can kind of jump in a few days a week and take over a route. The experience level varies. We've had people with experience, people with no experience, and I personally love people with no experience. You can train them and they don't come with any bad habits. So that's been kind of the route we've taken. Friends and family is also an option. I know people say don't get into business with your family members. I guess either make sure it's someone you can speak very candidly with or someone you don't like that much anyway. So if things go south, you're good. But yeah, we've trained one person as kind of a backup for when we need to leave town or if something were to happen, just to make sure we've got somebody ready to go that can take care of things if needed. And that was a family member for us. And then I've also just kept my eye out for people I meet who I appreciate the way they're doing the job I'm watching them do. There was a maintenance guy that I talked with. He was always super respectful, did the job 100%, and he was like, hey, if you're ever looking for anything, let me take your info. Whenever we're getting to that time to hire, I'll reach out. And so that's a way I've found really good people as well.
My dad does the same thing. He will find people with great work ethic. He spots them and has the same sort of conversation. What do you do? Who taught you? Like, what's your background? Who taught you to work this hard?
Yeah.
And they almost always end up being like some of the best workers because
hmm
it's how they were taught, and I love that.
Yeah, and you get
Um,
to see them in action. It's so
yeah,
so hard to hire based off of a resume and an interview. I mean, it is like straight gambling. I mean, I've had it where the person seems like they're going to be a complete rock star, and then 2 weeks in, you're like, was any of that on the resume true? Who are you? So, yeah.
yeah. I know a lot of our pest control owners right now struggle with hiring, recruiting, and even retention, and it's for that reason because you almost have to take them from a competitor just to even know that they could show up for the job or have been there long term. So I know that the hiring and retention piece is always a struggle. And then you throw in peak season on top of that, which makes everything more stressful because you're trying to build your routes and you don't have the text to fill the job. So
Yeah.
I know that can be really, really stressful.
I think the biggest advice for maintaining a staff throughout peak season, because you are going to have fall off when it's hot outside and people get sick and tired of just being hot and sweaty outside, um, is just constantly interviewing. I started practicing that like my first peak season in the pool business, because it was like, okay, we need to have 4 people lined up at all times. And you just never know when someone's going to fall off. But if you're interviewing every single week, odds are you will have someone in the pipeline that you can plug in quickly. So I think that's really important. And it's a weak point I do see in a lot of the businesses I work with is failing to constantly interview, finding your rock star employee and they're awesome, and then something happens. I mean, maybe they have a family member get sick and they have to leave. You can never expect what's going to happen. So yeah, constantly be interviewing.
Such great advice because if you start when you need it, then you're already behind, and then you're 2 weeks away from your next hire, and by that
hmm
point, you've created a mess. So that's such great advice. Talk to me about y'all's sales process at Torpedo Mosquito. What are you seeing right now that maybe works? Customer service is a huge part of your background too. So talk to me about your sales process.
Yeah, I love this question because I see, uh, of course, like any good business, we do secret shopping. So we get to hear other companies' um, process and how the phone's answered. And I do hear some that kind of go through the process. It's a rinse and repeat. And, you know, I do sense that there's not a relationship being built when I've done those secret shopping calls. That's key for us. I know if your phone's ringing off the hook, it can be very tempting to get in and out of that call. But we just think it's very important to take the time. If they want to tell you about their whole week, listen, try to find something that you can connect with them on. And that's what we do. And I make sure to ask questions too. When somebody comes to me and they want mosquito control, I really do want to understand why. Is it because they can't play in their yard with their grandson? Or is it that they've got a garden they love working in and they can't enjoy it? And if I understand that, it allows me to connect with them. I love gardening. I have a niece, and if I couldn't play with her in my yard, I would hate that. So being able to relate builds that trust and allows for the rest of that call to go so smoothly, because then you can go into, well, let me see what your yard looks like. I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do to help you. And you've already got that platform of trust. So they're more inclined to believe what you say and be a little bit less defensive, their guards down. And from that point on, I'm big on process as well, letting them know exactly what they can expect from the end of that phone call until we're done, in October, November. And that seemed to work. My calls are usually about 11 minutes. They're a little long, but they work.
I love that. I mean, talk about building trust right out of the gate. That connection, I'm sure, changes everything with the homeowner.
It does, and it makes us feel like we know them, and they feel like they know us, and there's still that boundary of this is a professional relationship, but it's also, it does feel, they feel comfortable with us coming to their home when they're not home, and that's a big deal. It is a personal service we're providing, being on someone's property, so we want them to feel comfortable, and we want to feel comfortable too. So.
And you offer the itch-free guarantee. I saw that. So the itch-free guarantee, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so mosquito control it's one of those things where you can be doing everything right and still have a flare-up. If it rains heavily, and especially in our area, we've got the saltwater, like the salt marsh mosquitoes, and if tides rise and they all hatch, everybody's going to be feeling the pressure. So we do that just because we don't believe in charging our customers extra when, everything was done right. They're already paying for the service. We want to make sure that they're happy at all times. And so we do offer that guarantee. If they're feeling extra bites in between, we'll come back out, retreat the property. We do usually call it like a booster treatment, just kind of nip whatever is there in the bud. And then usually that's enough to take care of the issue and continue on with the regular cycle. And then if it's a continuing issue, we'll look and see if there's anything at all we can change. There's different options. We do the automated misting systems as well. But usually the booster treatment or the itch-free guarantee treatment will take care of it. And it's been great. We don't have to do a lot of retreats using that, but I think it adds another layer of trust, and just kind of makes customers a little less fearful of, oh, if it doesn't work, then I'm out of my money. It's like, no, we're going to make sure you're happy no matter what.
Absolutely. The trust that you build in the sales process, the risk that you lower with the guarantee, those two things, I'm sure, help a lot in making the sales process go a lot smoother, and then the retention of those customers too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was fear around, will someone abuse that? And we really have not had that issue. If someone is wanting it like every week, we'll let them know, hey, we can't do that because we're following our labels and we need to make sure we're in accordance with the law. But on your next treatment, we'll tweak and see if there's anything different that we can do as far as the treatment plan goes. And they've been fine with that. People are willing to work with you if you're working with them.
That I'm just waiting for you to get ready to open your location in Louisiana, because a constant mist system.
Yeah, the misting systems.
I mean, I would be able to enjoy my yard with my kids all summer if I could constantly have mosquito treatment.
Yes, they're amazing. like the best form of mosquito control you can get. And they were originally made for horse barns. They've been being used for years. And it was like, well, they're doing such a good job protecting horses. They can protect people too. And they're so discreet. I mean, you don't even notice them.
Anna, this has been such great information, so many good takeaways and practical tips and tricks today. So, thank you for being here with us. And where can people find you if they want to connect with you and learn more about Torpedo Mosquito?
Yes, you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, email directly at Anna with two N's at torpedomosquito.com. Our website, if you're interested in getting a quote, you can go there for an online quote as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. It was a joy to talk to you, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.